This is one of my favorite activities to do in the winter. It's cold and dark outside. The ground is covered in snow. Nothing is growing. Today I am going to do some garden planting. Hi friends, welcome back. My name is Jen. Today I am going over my garden plan for next year and checking my seed inventory. The first thing I do is go over my plan for my next year's garden, my spring and summer garden. I'll show you what I have. I usually take a graph paper and draw out my raised beds on there and also my in-ground garden and figure out what I want to plant where. A lot of times I'll do it based on what I grew the prior year. A lot of things don't necessarily need to be rotated. I feel like the brassica type plants, such as the broccolis, cabbages, those need to move to a different bed frequently. Otherwise, you can get diseases. I haven't had any problems yet, but I want to avoid any problems in the future by at least rotating those crops. Here is my garden layout. I've drawn it out on a piece of cardstock, just an 8x11, and I signify where the road is in conjunction to all my beds. I have all my beds numbered, and I have the trellises numbered, and I also have the length and width of them. This is what I begin with when I make my garden plan. The next thing that I do is on a piece of graph paper, I draw out my garden beds. This year I am trying to do the square foot garden method. So I've got my beds pretty much laid out as to what I'm going to plant in them. This one here has my first two beds that are closest to the house. This bed here is the one that has the winter garden in it right now. I'm not sure if this stuff will survive or not, but I'm planning on not necessarily putting anything in it right off the bat. And then this one is going to have tomatoes. This is the beds that are closest to the road. This one here currently has garlic planted in it, and I plan to plant onions in it and some okra, and then I'm going to try peas on that trellis. Then this bed here, I'm going to start brassicas. So these will be probably the first beds that I work on in the spring. This garden plan here is my in-ground garden. This is the approximate size of it, even though I took down the fencing. I'm hoping to, probably the corn and the sunflowers will be moved because I haven't really given much thought as to the layout of what I'm actually going to do in that garden area. Corn, sunflowers, amaranth, quinoa, potatoes, and okra I'm going to try to grow up there. After I figured out where I'm going to plant everything and kind of the rough idea of the spacing and all that, that's when I actually look at the seeds and figure out what I'm going to plant. I have a tendency to overplant seeds and then try to find a home for something. I'm going to try to not do that this year. This year I am trying to do this square foot garden method. How square foot gardening works is you measure out your garden beds into square foot areas and plant a specific amount of plants in each square foot. Since I know the dimensions of all of my beds, it's pretty easy for me to figure out the square footage and plot out different areas where I want to grow things. Once I have an idea of how many plants I'm going to want to have, then I go and check my seed inventory and see what I have. One of the things that I do throughout the year is when I empty a seed packet, I put it back in my box so that I know that it's empty and I'll know that I'll need to get that next year. Here is what I do for my inventory for seeds. I use this photo case to store my seeds in. It works pretty good, even though I could probably use another one. All my seeds separated out into categories. This one has greens in it. This one has root vegetable seeds in it. Cukes. What I like to do before planting season is to go through all my seeds and make sure that I still have seeds of varieties that I want to plant. Like I said, I like to do my garden layout first and then figure out what I have for seeds. I may or may not plant all the seeds that I have in here anyway. Going through my seeds and looking to see what I have helps me to not overspend on seeds because I can kind of get out of control. But I definitely recommend looking through all your seeds and seeing what you actually have and then making a list of the ones that you don't have that you need to buy. Then it helps you from overspending when you go in the store to buy things. After going through my seeds, I pull out all the packages that are empty. I like to keep my empty packages with my seeds so that when I do my inventory, I will know which ones are empty and I need to get some more. I buy my seeds from pretty much wherever. I don't have a preference as to where I get my seeds. The seeds that I need this year are going to be pretty conventional. I need a yellow and a green bean, a spaghetti squash, broccoli. The natapino might be hard to find. I also want a banana pepper. So most of those should be pretty easy to find locally. I've got my list of ones that I need. Once I have a list of the seeds that I need to get, I can keep an eye out for when seeds are going to start coming back into stores or if there's sales that come up and stuff like that. Please keep in mind that seeds, just because they have a date on them, doesn't mean it's an expiration date. Some seeds get less viable over time, but a lot of seeds are good for many, many, many years. I grew some plants from seed last year that were from 2015, which was 10 years. If you have a bunch of seeds that are from last year and they have a date of 2025, don't throw them away. The worst thing that's going to happen is if you plant those seeds, they just won't grow. If you throw them in the trash, you have zero chance of them growing. So don't throw those seeds out. If you are unsure of the viability of your seeds, you can do a germination test if you want to, where you can get a damp paper towel and put the seed in there and then just keep it in a warm place and check it over a few days and see if it begins to sprout. That'll give you an idea of whether your seeds may still be viable. Another thing to mention is that a lot of seed companies will do a clearance on seeds in the fall of the prior year. That is where they sell the seeds that were packed for that year. The reason the dates are on the seed packages is because the seeds have to be sold in that year. They're not supposed to sell them the next year. So a lot of seed companies will have sales on seeds that they have remaining in their store in the fall of the prior year. That is something to think of, and maybe do a quick inventory in late summer to see what seeds you still have remaining and what you might possibly need to get, so you can get some of your seeds that you may need when they're on clearance before the next year. Another thing that I like to do before the seed starting season starts is to look over my other items and see if I need to replace anything. This would be my seed cells if I'm using starter packages. whether or not I need to get some vermiculite or some other media to start the seeds in. I do a quick inventory and see what I need. The end of January and February is the time that stores begin to get these items in. Garden planning doesn't need to be complicated or expensive. You can just use a piece of paper and draw out your plans, go over your seed inventories and see what you have and what you need. Check your other items and see what needs to be replaced. Make a list. That way you don't overspend on items that you don't need. Let me know what you guys are doing as far as garden planning in the comments down below. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.